Joy, and I am an esthetician. I've been working with the skin for 45 years. I've done over 100,000 facials, and this has been my life. So I wanted to share with you today how stress affects the skin, because this is something that I've seen a lot of. I've had a number of clients over the years that have really gone through some challenging things, and I've really seen how it's affected their skin. So let's talk about how stress affects our skin. So the first one I want to talk about is genetically. We come into this world with weakened organs, that we have weakened organs from our parents, our grandparents, our heritage, our line of family members that may have had bad stomach issues. They may have had high cholesterol. There's all these, sugar, diabetes, for instance. All of these things put stress on our body. So we have that genetic factor. So coming in, it could be that our pancreas is a little bit stressed, and it could be that our stomach is, not digesting those enzymes, that hyaluronic acid in the stomach. It just doesn't digest the foods as well as we would like it. So we have these genetic things that we come in with. Then we've got our environment, and just how our environment affects our skin. And it's stressful, when you go, maybe you're a skier, and you go to the slopes to ski, and you have, sun, but you've also got that cold wind. So you have the environmental stresses that affect our skin, and that's stressful, right? The big one that I want to talk about a lot today is foods, and how foods affect our body as a whole. And this is something that I've worked a tremendous amount with my clients and helping them with their skin. So how does our diet affect our skin? Now, when you have stomach issues, which is a big issue for a lot of people, and what happens is, when I say diet, our diet affects our skin, is that it could be that you have something like you have gluten intolerance, or that you have Candida albicans, or that you have the, you're just not digesting your foods well. And what happens is, because our gut health plays such an important role on our external, the largest organ of our body, which is our skin, it shows on our skin. So what I had developed over the years, a form for me that's very, very helpful, is face mapping. And so what I've been able to do is be able to look at somebody's face, and if I notice that they're aging, maybe they're aging quickly around the eye area, then I know this is an area that relates to the stomach. And that's what it is in face mapping for me, or very high up, the kidneys. But the stomach is a big one, and it's one that we can correct pretty quickly. The stomach, this area here, so if someone's aging quickly with wrinkles around the eyes, or maybe they have puffiness or dark circles, which often indicates a lot of allergies. We want to look at that area, and the stomach is something that, again, as I said, it's something that really plays such a huge role on our skin. So people often are aging very quickly around the eyes. A lot of people complain about dark circles and puffiness. And so what are the things that we're going to do? So if it's someone that has puffiness, we know that their salt intake could be a little too high. And I think that it's not just about putting all the table salt on your food at a table. It's about looking at the salt, the amount of salt that's in the foods that you're eating, that maybe you're already buying in jars or containers, that you really need to look at. So salt is a big one for puffiness. For the discoloration around the eyes, it's a lot to do with the stomach sensitivities, and whether the hydrochloric acid in the stomach is really helping to break down those foods. So sometimes digestive enzymes and the pre and probiotics are really effective. So this is something that we want to look at for dark circles. Now, if you stretch the skin on someone who has dark circles and you really look at that area, the skin is very thin around the eyes. It's thicker on other parts of our face, but around the eye area, it's very thin. Once you stretch the skin, you often see that there's blood vessels, those bluey blood vessels that are very close to the surface. So we want to make sure that you're using, you're eating foods that contain a lot of bioflavonoids and things like your bananas and certain vegetables, things that really help support little blood vessel walls and help stop leakage from those blood vessel walls. So this is something that can really help if you have those dark circles around the eyes. And again, I'm not talking about topical things, but I'm talking about what we can do internally, about the foods that can help just strengthen our immune system, which in turn is going to strengthen our skin. The next one is wrinkles. When you're aging and you the rest of the skin's really great, and we've got these wrinkles, but major wrinkles around the eyes that you see on some people. Now, a lot of it is expression lines. We have three kinds of wrinkles. We've got expression. We've got our wrinkles that happen as a result of collagen elastin not being developed as quickly. And then we have our premature lines, which are the things that, me as an esthetician, we can certainly help prevent that and lessen the depth of those wrinkles. So, but some people, you'll notice they've got really great, they've got a really young, youthful face, but they're aging quickly around the eyes. And this is an area that I know to talk to them a lot about their stomach and just how they're eating their foods, because food combinations is really important. And you want to make sure that as we get older, we don't want to be eating a bunch of different foods at one time, because what happens is it puts a lot more work and stress on our digestive enzymes to break down all these foods, because each food has its own enzyme chain in the body. So you want to make sure that it's really important that you are talking about foods. So in other words, when you go to have a salad, maybe it's going to be something like you're only going to have 4 vegetables on that salad as opposed to 10 different kinds, because the more vegetables you have, the harder work it is on your stomach to break these foods down. So this is something that's important, is simplifying. And it's not about quantity, it's about, having the amount of different types of foods on your plate. So, this is a good thing to really look at. And if you're finding that you get bloating in your stomach, that is a big indicator that, something you're eating isn't great for you, and you're not going to digest it and process it in a really positive way. So to keep your digestive tract, your enzymes working really healthy, and to keep your stomach, that is already your sensitive area, to keep it working at its best, you could do prebiotics, probiotics, but in foods, you want to make sure that you're not eating too much in one sitting of different kinds of vegetables. You want to be just simplifying, maybe having 4 different kinds of vegetables in your salad, for instance, but just not having too many different kinds of things at one time. And often, drinking water 20 minutes prior or 20 minutes after is also another really good thing to do, because having it all at one time, drinking and eating, can just be too much work on the stomach. So I think this is something that's really important to look into. If you are getting bloating, this is not your strong area. So when people get stressed, sometimes people feel they can't eat, or they feel like they need to eat a lot to try and, stuff it into to help with the stress. So this is something that you just want to pay attention to find out, when you get stressed, what is your body telling you? And what is it like? Is it that you break out in acne, pimples, and now we know it's affecting our hormones if you have stress and you get pimples. So hormones is another thing. You can go to your endocrinologist, get your hormone levels checked, and find out where your hormones are. Now, if you're breaking out in pimples, those painful nodules, which are the hormonal pimples, whenever you touch your face and they're those big painful nodules, we know that's hormonal acne. And we also know that it is related to an overabundance of the male hormone. And that's why very often when people start working out and they start pumping weights, they often notice that they get a lot more acne on their skin. Weights builds testosterone, and then that often will make somebody break out, especially later in life. So it's really important to understand your hormone levels and where you are, because sometimes it's a big range, and you might want to check that if you're getting facial hair, dark facial hair as we get older. Sometimes this happens. You know, and all of these things have to do with the male hormones, the activity of it, the overabundance of stimulating male hormone that gives us acne. So it's really important to find out and just pay attention to your body of when you do get stressed, what happens? Like, where are you feeling it most? Are you getting headaches? Are you, you know, do you get bladder infections, which is my thing? You know, my weakened area is my kidneys, and that's in my constitutional acupuncture chart for my body constitution. It is my kidneys, and it definitely is. So when I get stressed, getting bladder infections are, you know, something that happens to me. The other thing that can happen is my secondary, I would say, is my stomach. So I am aware more of the foods that work for me, that bloat me up, because I'm not somebody that can eat a salad and digest it really well. So it's sort of, it's knowing the foods that work for you, and sometimes making a log, you know, of what you eat in a day and just see how you feel in that day is really good, because you can look back and say, oh, this food felt really good in my stomach. So a lot of foods tend to be really soothing and calming, and there are other foods that create inflammation. Now, inflammation is a big issue, and it's one of the biggest issues out there, causing all kinds of problems, you know, whether it be, you know, an autoimmune skin, you know, diseases, which it's systematic, it affects the whole body, things like psoriasis and rosacea, dermatitis. You know, inflammation plays a huge role in these types of things. So, you know, inflammation is something that is on the rise, and sometimes when you get stressed, you know, definitely these are the areas, these are the things that start happening. So what you want to do is to be mindful of that, and I recommend that you really, you know, your inflammation foods, your triggers, and stay away from them. So when you're stressed, you want to make sure, stay away from your inflammation foods. Be kind to yourself, have massages, and do things that make you feel good. Go for walks, look at beautiful trees and the sky, and do things that are really going to help calm you down, because these are the things that is going to keep you younger longer, and it's also going to give you longevity. So movement is another one that's very important. You know, when you walk, you want to be swinging your arm back and moving these big lymph nodes under the armpit, around the groin area, but it's that motion of swinging back when you walk that's really important in helping keeping the body healthy, because the lymphatic system plays a huge role in our body, and it's what helps keep our body, you know, clean. It gets rid of a lot of toxins. It allows for nutrients to come in and oxygen to the blood. So this is something that's also super important. Now, back to some of the inflammation issues that I talked about with that are created with psoriasis and dermatitis and eczema and rosacea. Inflammation is a big factor here, and as I mentioned before, and as we get older, this can come out. Now, psoriasis, for instance, is that it's that thickened skin that we get. It's called like a form of plaque, and it has a lot to do with the the stimulation of the blood in our body. So inflammation really creates a lot of issues, and you know, there's so many areas in our body. In fact, you know, they say most diseases out there, you know, 90% is all sort of, it stems from inflammation. So again, I'm going to give you those inflammation foods right now that I know are triggers. And that is things like tomatoes, which is terrible for arthritis and terrible for joint pain. Again, inflammation. So tomatoes are a no-no. Your nightshade, your potatoes, your eggplants are a no-no. Your spicy foods are a no-no. Your peppers of all colors, all your color peppers, they're a no-no. And alcohol, which is a stimulant, but particularly red wine. So these foods alone are very high in that they're big inflammation foods. And I know myself, if I eat potatoes, for me, I can feel it in my joints, in my hands. And because I work with my hands all day, this is a really important thing. So this is something that I want to just mention to you today. if you're finding that you have these issues, if you have rosacea, if you have eczema, dermatitis, psoriasis, stay away from your inflammation foods. You need to do things that are soothing, cooling, calming. And, very often that is, cooler drinks. A lot of people that tend to retain a lot of fluid, there's inflammation in the body, that fluid in the tissue, it pushes those capillaries to the surface. And that's where cryo is really wonderful. Not having really hot showers and not having really hot baths, but everything that's cooling, calming, these are things that are really important. The other thing in color therapy, which is one of the things that I studied, is that, the color red, it stimulates your hemoglobin blood cells. So it also makes you hot. And so you want to be using and wearing colors that are cooling and soothing, the blues, the greens, this type of thing, if you're somebody that has a lot of inflammation in the body. So these are some very important things that can help you, and it's what helps your skin stay younger and more youthful. The more you stay away from inflammation foods, the better it's going to be. And the more you understand what are your weakened areas in your body, so that when you do get stressed, you know what they are, and you know what you can do at that time to help sort of strengthen that area, because we all have weakened areas. Years ago I studied iridology, and that is reading the eye, the iris and the sclera, the white of the eye. So this is something that was so fascinating to me, because the iris, the colored part of the eye, every second of that iris is like a clock, and every second is a different area of the body, and whether it be out around the scurf rim, the outer part of the iris, or whether it be in around the pupil, which is all around the stomach and the digestive tract. It shows you so much, iridology, and it was really fascinating being able to look at somebody's eyes and see weakened areas in our body that we've carried through from our parents, our grandparents, and areas that you can see long before you get symptoms, if there's anything going on. So it's a really wonderful tool to study, or if you are in an area where you can go see an iridologist and learn your weakened areas, if it's something that you're not aware of, or having acupuncture done. Acupuncture is another wonderful, treatment for helping your body, be strong and helping your immune system. And these are some things that are really important. So, again, this topic today was covering stress and how stress affects our skin, and how we feel about ourselves is really, learning to love self, and what that means is something that's always been really important to me. I had an eating disorder as a teenager into my 20s, and it was something that I really needed to take control of and understand, and learn what works for me. And Louise Hay, Wayne Dyer, very strong, influential people in my life as a younger person. I found, learning to love self and learning to just be totally in touch, feeling every cell of my body, and just really nurturing and nourishing it was super important for me. So I think that, as we go through life, and life is stressful, sometimes more than others, I think it's important to just be conscious of a lot of things, and especially be conscious of yourself and your body and your areas that need more protection, more nourishment. Be mindful of that, and really put the effort into studying and just helping yourself stay strong and healthy, even on, for your immune system. Eating organic vegetables is really important. And, just when you're eating vegetables, you want to build a strong immune system, you need to eat organic vegetables. You need to do things that movement is medicine. I talk about this a lot, and it's just so important to help our bodies stay strong. So again, I'm just going to share with you a couple of the face mapping areas. We've talked about this area up here, which is our stomach. Down here we have our small intestine. Now this is an area where you can see something like Candida albicans, which is yeast. It's also an area of where a lot of foods, when people are sensitive to dairy, they get a lot of congestion here. It's not pimples, but it's a lot of bumps under the skin. And that means that their small intestine is the area that isn't their strongest, in that they're not digesting those foods well. And that's very often fatty foods like egg yolks and oily fish even, things like cheese, dairy, soy milk, no peanut butter. You can't eat peanut butter if you have congestion. Any of the nuts that are really oily. This can really cause great problems. And for a lot of people, these foods, they can eat them and they can digest them really well. But if you're somebody that has all these bumps here, you cannot eat these foods. Even oily fish, which is high in your omegas. If you are someone that has congestion, it doesn't work for you, because everybody's different. You need to recognize this. This area down here is the large intestine. So if this is an area where you're getting congested and you're getting pimples under this area here, and they're not necessarily painful pimples, but you're getting a lot of congestion here, this is the large intestine. So what that means is that it's that large intestine's getting blocked and clogged, and you want to make sure that you are exercising. And it's this area is obviously, it's a lot of people think going to the bathroom twice a week is normal, which it totally is not. So you need to have good regular bathroom movements, and that's what keeps our body healthy. You don't want to be storing onto things, holding onto things. And the large intestine is the organ of elimination. That it's the organ that we hold on to. Often things from our past childhood that we just don't want to let go. So I'm going to show you an exercise that you can do right now to stimulate the fascia lata, which is going to help get movement in that large intestine. So again, eye area is stomach, mid area is small intestine, large intestine down here, and I'm going to show you an exercise that you can do to help that. So I'm just going to move my camera back a little bit here. There we go. Now, this area here, the fascia lata, we're going to stimulate that meridian, okay? And what you need to do is you need to position your foot standing straight. You need to position your foot out here on an angle with your foot out here. Turn your foot in. Bring your foot back in like this. And now just massage from the top here, your hip here, to the right beside the outside of your knee. And if you just massage, and you can do this in the shower with your sponge, and just massage it for 30 seconds up and down here. But you've got to keep that foot. You've got to first position it out, turn your foot in, bring it back in. You can't just turn it in like this here and do it like this. You got to put it out, turn your foot in, bring your foot in, and then massage. And you do the other side exactly the same. I've got that in another video, or a couple of videos somewhere, maybe on my Instagram. But basically that's what that's all about. So this is a really important thing to do to help your large intestine, because exercise is so important. And I personally, I don't even do enough exercise. It's just hasn't been a priority for me, and I need to make it more of a priority. Just stretching, nothing stressful. You can't do things stressful, because then you end up quitting it usually, which is what happened to me when I was big into weights and doing all these things way back in the day. So I think these are things that are really important, and it's important if you find that you're just aging quicker in certain areas. Look at that, right? If you're really aging quickly around the jawline and all under the chin, large intestine. So it all means something. And I think some of the other relaxing foods that you can have that are so nice is things like chamomile is soothing and lowers inflammation in the body. Green tea is another one. Coffee helps to lower inflammation in the body. Of course, everything you want to be having here is organic, because organic is really important, and you want to definitely be doing that. But these are some foods. The green mucha, this is also really good in helping lower inflammation. So there's some things that you can do that really help lower inflammation, and that's super important. So I hope today was helpful for you in understanding how stress affects our skin, and what foods that you can do, have to help that. by recognizing different areas of your face, what's going on, by recognizing different areas in your body. You know, a lot of people have issues with their stomach, and stress can really play such a role there. So really, you know, invest time and learn about it, like what works for you, because everyone's so different. And some foods that you think are good for you, like a salad for me, leafy greens, they don't work for my body. But you know, so everybody's different, and you need to learn what are the foods that are right for you. I go to a constitutional acupuncturist, and I'm very clear on the kinds of nuts I can eat, the kinds of, you know, other foods that I can eat. You know, I can eat red meat, but I can't eat chicken, for instance. So, you know, these are foods that I personally digest better. And when you're able to digest foods really well, it makes you feel good. And so, you know, we need to be able to be very up on these things to understand what's going to help support us as we get older. Because the more support you have, you know, on the inside, just the better you're going to feel, the less stress you're going to have, and the longer your life will be. So remember those key things, you know, remember the areas that I pointed out on face mapping to know what's kind of going on the inside there. Also, you know, look at areas, as I said, with your stomach. You know, don't eat a bunch of different vegetables at one time. Try to just eat simpler and make a log and just see how you're doing throughout the day. What are the foods that's giving you bloating and making you feel uncomfortable? Make a log of this, and it's not always the really what you think the terrible foods, right? It's sometimes the healthy foods that just don't work for us. And I've really, you know, learned a tremendous amount about this, because it was very important to me to understand and studying this, and just to be able to help my clients. So I think it's something that's really valuable, and it's definitely worth looking into. And movement, I can't say enough about that either. I have this machine. It's called the vibrotherapy machine. It's a dual plate vibrotherapy machine. I just put a thing up on my Instagram yesterday about the plate that I use. I've been using that for 4 years, and that movement everywhere, that shaking and moving everything, your arms, you know, you have a little back fat everywhere, it just gets movement here in your face, your legs, your stomach. It moves everything. You just stand on it, and you can do different weights on it and that, but that is such a valuable machine, and it's one that I have found to really help me in life, because I don't like doing stressful things, and I can work while I'm on it if I want to. I just have to stand on it. And so those are some things that can make life easy, you know, but those plates, the vibrotherapy plates, are really fabulous, and so I've found them to be very helpful for me. So this is it: movement, swing your arms, do all these things, pay attention to and try and learn your own body, and try and learn what works for you, what makes you feel good on the inside, that nourishes, soothes. These are some really valuable things. And so again, I hope this was helpful for you today. And I'm just getting used to this YouTube live, so I'm sorry. I'm used to Instagram. I do Instagram all the time, and it's so easy for me. And I'm just trying to do more lives here on my YouTube channel to be able to share more information and knowledge, as this is something I've done and worked with for such a long time. And skincare and just helping people is really my life's journey, and I love it, and I'm here for you. Thank you for being here today, and have a beautiful rest of your day. Bye-bye. Mwah.